Welcome to our journey into the profound power of silence. Before we delve deeply into the essence of what silence can reveal, I invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you allow yourself to be part of a space where reflection, insight, and understanding thrive. Now, let us explore why silence often speaks louder than words. From the earliest moments of human communication, words have been our primary instrument to convey thought, emotion, and intention. We rely on speech to express what is in our minds and hearts, to connect with others, and to navigate the complex social fabric of our world. Yet, despite our dependence on language, there exists a form of communication that transcends the spoken word: the silent, unspoken resonance that occurs when words are absent. Silence is not merely the absence of noise. It is a medium through which truth, clarity, and understanding can emerge in ways that words often obscure. Consider the nature of personal reflection. When a person sits in quiet contemplation, without the distraction of external chatter or internal narration, a profound clarity begins to surface. Thoughts, once tangled in the habitual patterns of language, begin to organize themselves naturally. Emotions that may have been suppressed or confused find a space to be acknowledged without judgment. In this context, silence does not merely provide a pause from conversation. It serves as a lens through which the inner world becomes more visible. Ancient philosophers, from Socrates to Lao Tzu, emphasized the value of retreating into quietude. Socrates often spoke of the examined life, a life in which reflection and self-awareness guide action. Lao Tzu, in his teachings on Tao, highlighted the virtue of stillness, noting that the world reveals its deepest truths to those who can remain patient and silent, allowing wisdom to unfold organically. Silence, in its deepest form, also serves as a mirror to human emotion. Consider moments of grief, loss, or profound awe. In such instances, words can feel inadequate, almost intrusive, against the immensity of what is being felt. A shared silence, in these moments, conveys empathy and solidarity more effectively than any spoken reassurance. Neuroscientific studies support this phenomenon, indicating that shared silent experiences can foster stronger emotional bonds than verbal interaction alone. The brain, when attuned to silence in the presence of another, heightens its perception of nonverbal cues, creating a nuanced understanding of emotion that words might fail to capture. Moreover, silence has a unique ability to reveal intentions and character. In social interactions, the way individuals respond to silence, whether with discomfort, patience, or thoughtful reflection, often communicates more about their inner state than any scripted speech. A moment of silence can expose authenticity or pretense, revealing not only what is unsaid, but what cannot be easily expressed. This principle is evident in both personal relationships and broader societal contexts. Leaders, for instance, who cultivate the capacity to listen attentively and to allow space for thoughtful pause, often inspire greater trust and loyalty than those who dominate conversations with constant speech. In addition, silence enhances the power of language itself. When words are overused, they can lose their impact, becoming diluted by quantity and repetition. By contrast, a well-placed pause or a moment of quiet can amplify meaning, imbuing words with weight and significance. This is evident in literature, music, and oratory. Great writers often rely on the spaces between words to evoke emotion. Poets understand that what is left unsaid resonates as powerfully as what is articulated. Similarly, in music, rests and pauses create tension and release, shaping the emotional experience of the listener. Orators, from Cicero to modern-day speakers, strategically employ silence to let key points settle in the minds of their audience, demonstrating that the absence of speech can be as communicative as speech itself. Silence also functions as a sanctuary for creativity. In our modern world, filled with incessant noise and constant demands for attention, moments of quiet are increasingly rare. Yet it is precisely in these spaces that imagination and insight flourish. Without silence, the mind struggles to integrate experiences, to generate new perspectives, and to solve complex problems. Historical figures such as Albert Einstein and Virginia Woolf recognized the essential role of quiet in creative work. Einstein often credited long periods of contemplation and solitude with his most profound discoveries, suggesting that silence allows the mind to engage with ideas on a level that is inaccessible amidst continuous verbal stimulation. Similarly, Wolff emphasized the need for a room of one's own, not merely as a physical space, but as a mental state of uninterrupted silence, conducive to deep thought and creation. Furthermore, silence fosters self-discipline and emotional resilience. To remain silent in the face of provocation, for example, requires a mastery over impulses and a conscious choice to respond with deliberation rather than reflex. In many spiritual and philosophical traditions, silence is seen as a training ground for the mind, a practice that strengthens patience, discernment, and the capacity for empathy. The Stoics, in particular, advocated for periods of reflective quiet as a means of cultivating virtue and composure. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflected on the value of stepping back from the clamor of daily life, suggesting that inner peace emerges when one can observe events without immediate verbal reaction. On a societal level, silence can serve as a profound form of resistance or moral expression. In moments of injustice or oppression, the refusal to speak, or the deliberate choice of measured speech, can carry far greater weight than words themselves. Historical movements, from Gandhi's campaigns of nonviolent resistance to contemporary protests where moments of silence are observed, demonstrate that silence can articulate principles, grief, and resolve more compellingly than rhetoric. The deliberate use of quiet in these contexts signals intentionality, reflection, and moral clarity, drawing attention to the gravity of the situation without resorting to verbal assertion. It is important to note that silence is not inherently passive or empty. Rather, it is a fertile ground for perception, understanding, and connection. The power of silence lies precisely in its capacity to evoke thought and feeling that might be obscured by the constant flow of words. When we learn to embrace silence, we gain access to dimensions of human experience that are often hidden beneath noise, distraction, and superficial communication. The physiological effects of silence further reinforce its significance. Research in neuroscience has shown that moments of quiet can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and enhance mental clarity. The brain, when given periods of rest from verbal and sensory input, engages in what is called the default mode network, a state associated with reflection, memory consolidation, and insight. These periods of mental quietude are not only restorative but also critical for higher-order thinking, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. In other words, silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is an active state of mental engagement that promotes well-being, creativity, and deeper understanding. Moreover, silence facilitates listening in its truest sense. To listen is not simply to hear words, but to perceive the nuances, intentions, and emotions behind them. Silence provides the space necessary for such deep listening, allowing the listener to absorb meaning fully, to empathize genuinely, and to respond with insight. In interpersonal relationships, this form of listening can strengthen bonds, resolve conflicts, and cultivate mutual respect. In professional contexts, it enables leaders, educators, and collaborators to make decisions informed by comprehension rather than reaction. By cultivating silence, individuals enhance their capacity to receive the full spectrum of human communication, much of which lies beyond the reach of words. Finally, silence invites a confrontation with reality itself. In moments of quiet, one is faced with thoughts, fears, hopes, and truths that may otherwise be ignored or suppressed. This confrontation is not always comfortable, yet it is profoundly liberating. It fosters self-awareness, accountability, and growth. Philosophers, spiritual teachers, and psychologists alike recognize that through the practice of embracing silence, one develops the courage to face oneself honestly, to understand the world more deeply, and to act with intentionality rather than impulse. In conclusion, silence reveals more than words because it operates on levels that words cannot always reach. It provides clarity, cultivates creativity, strengthens emotional and moral resilience, deepens understanding, and fosters authentic connection. In a world dominated by speech, noise, and distraction, the capacity to embrace silence is a rare and invaluable gift. By learning to inhabit silence, we access a profound form of communication that transcends the limits of language, offering insights into ourselves, others, and the world that words alone cannot convey. Continuing from our exploration of the profound significance of silence, it becomes increasingly evident that this unspoken presence holds transformative potential in both personal and collective human experience. While the first part of our discussion focused on the individual, emotional, and cognitive dimensions of silence, we now turn to its broader implications. How it shapes understanding, cultivates wisdom, and reveals truths that words alone are incapable of conveying. Silence is often described as a language in itself. Unlike spoken words, which are subject to interpretation, distortion, and personal bias, silence possesses a universality that transcends cultural and linguistic boundaries. A pause in conversation, a quiet gaze, a moment of contemplative stillness. These forms of silence communicate in ways that are immediate and profound. They allow for observation, reflection, and discernment without the interference of prescriptive language. In essence, silence speaks directly to intuition, connecting us to insights that lie beneath the conscious level of thought. In interpersonal dynamics, silence can act as a catalyst for deeper understanding. Consider the experience of listening to another person in complete quietude. In such moments, the listener does not merely hear the words being spoken. They perceive the subtle rhythms of speech, the pauses, the emotional undertones, and the unarticulated intentions. These cues often provide a richer and more accurate comprehension of the speaker's meaning than words alone could deliver. In this context, silence serves not as a void but as a conduit for empathy, enabling individuals to bridge the gaps between external expression and internal reality. Moreover, silence fosters patience and presence. In an era characterized by instant communication, rapid response, and perpetual distraction, the ability to remain silent is increasingly rare and therefore profoundly powerful. To resist the urge to fill every moment with speech requires a conscious effort, a deliberate choice to prioritize listening, observation, and reflection over immediate verbal engagement. This practice cultivates mindfulness, enabling individuals to inhabit the present moment fully and to respond with intentionality rather than reflex. By embracing silence, one develops a heightened awareness of the subtleties of life, from the smallest gestures of a loved one to the intricate patterns of thought and emotion that shape human experience. The psychological benefits of silence extend beyond mindfulness and reflection. Neuroscience has demonstrated that silence can enhance cognitive function, emotional regulation, and stress reduction. When the mind is afforded periods of quiet, it engages in processes associated with problem-solving, creativity, and memory consolidation. The default mode network, activated during moments of rest and contemplation, allows for integration of experiences and insights that might otherwise remain fragmented. In this sense, silence is not passive. It is an active state of engagement, facilitating growth, comprehension, and emotional resilience. Silence also possesses moral and ethical dimensions. Throughout history, deliberate silence has been employed as a form of resistance, protest, and integrity. In situations of injustice, the choice to remain silent or to speak selectively can convey principles more powerfully than continuous argumentation. Gandhi's campaigns of nonviolent resistance exemplify this principle. Silence and restraint became instruments of moral authority, revealing the depth of conviction and the strength of character without resorting to aggression or rhetoric. Similarly, moments of collective silence in commemoration, mourning, or reflection articulate profound truths about human values, shared grief, and communal solidarity. On a spiritual level, silence serves as a bridge to transcendence. Across diverse religious and philosophical traditions, stillness is recognized as a medium through which individuals encounter the divine, the infinite, or the ultimate reality. Christian mystics, Buddhist practitioners, Sufi mystics, and Taoist sages alike have emphasized the necessity of quiet contemplation for spiritual insight. Silence is not merely the absence of speech but the presence of openness, an active engagement with the sacred, with the ineffable, and with the hidden dimensions of existence. In these traditions, the ability to remain silent is often synonymous with wisdom, humility, and receptivity, allowing insights to arise spontaneously rather than being forced through deliberate articulation. Silence also reveals the essence of human relationships. In moments where conversation ceases, true intimacy often emerges. Partners, friends, or family members sitting together without the need for words frequently experience a connection that transcends verbal expression. The shared space of quiet communicates trust, acceptance, and mutual presence. This phenomenon is supported by research indicating that nonverbal communication, including silence, accounts for a significant portion of human interaction, often exceeding the informational content of spoken words. In this light, silence is not emptiness. It is relational depth, providing a medium through which the subtle dimensions of connection can flourish. Furthermore, silence serves as a mirror for self-awareness. When we retreat from external noise, we encounter the thoughts, feelings, and impulses that shape our inner lives. This confrontation with self is not always comfortable, yet it is essential for personal growth. By observing our own mind in quiet reflection, we gain insight into habitual patterns, unexamined assumptions, and latent potential. Philosophers and psychologists alike have long recognized that self-knowledge arises from moments of silence, when the mind is free from distraction and the heart is open to honest appraisal. In this sense, silence functions as both a tool and a teacher, guiding individuals toward greater authenticity, integrity, and understanding. In professional and creative contexts, silence can be a powerful catalyst for innovation and problem-solving. Many of history's most influential thinkers and creators attributed their breakthroughs to periods of solitude and quiet reflection. Leonardo da Vinci, for instance, often retreated into prolonged states of observation and contemplation, allowing his mind to synthesize information and generate original ideas. Similarly, contemporary research in creativity emphasizes the importance of uninterrupted focus and reflective thought, noting that insight often emerges in moments when the mind is not actively engaged in verbal processing. Silence, therefore, is not merely a pause from activity. It is an incubator for ideas, a space in which innovation and insight can flourish unimpeded. In social and political arenas, silence can serve as both a strategic and ethical tool. The careful management of speech and the deliberate use of pauses can communicate authority, discernment, and gravitas. Leaders who understand the power of silence often inspire greater trust and loyalty than those who dominate discourse with continuous speech. Silence, in this sense, communicates intentionality, demonstrating that words are chosen carefully, with awareness of their impact. It can also serve as a form of nonviolent resistance, highlighting injustice or moral incongruence without resorting to verbal aggression. Historical examples abound, from moments of silent protest during civil rights movements to diplomatic negotiations, where measured quiet conveyed more than declarations could achieve. Silence also possesses a restorative quality. In a world characterized by sensory overload, constant communication, and relentless demands for attention, quiet moments offer respite. They allow the nervous system to recover, the mind to reset, and the heart to attune to subtler aspects of experience. This restorative power extends beyond the individual, affecting interpersonal dynamics and community cohesion. Groups that cultivate moments of collective silence often report heightened empathy, deeper understanding, and more harmonious interactions. Silence, in this sense, is not merely personal. It is social, fostering connection, insight, and balance. Finally, silence invites a deeper appreciation for the nature of existence itself. In moments of quiet reflection, one becomes attuned to the subtle rhythms of life, the passage of time, the interplay of light and shadow, the nuances of human experience. It allows for contemplation of mortality, purpose, and meaning, offering insights that words often fail to capture. Philosophers from Aristotle to Heidegger have emphasized the necessity of reflection and stillness as a means of understanding the human condition. Through silence, we engage with existence on its own terms, cultivating wisdom, perspective, and a profound sense of interconnectedness. In conclusion, silence reveals more than words because it encompasses dimensions of human experience that speech alone cannot reach. It offers clarity, empathy, moral insight, spiritual depth, creativity, and restoration. It fosters connection, self-awareness, and understanding, providing a medium through which the unspoken truths of life become perceptible. In embracing silence, we access a form of communication that is immediate, universal, and transformative, a language that speaks directly to the heart, mind, and soul. As we cultivate the habit of listening to and inhabiting silence, we not only gain insight into ourselves and others, but also touch upon the profound mysteries of life that elude articulation. In the quiet, we find wisdom, peace, and the subtle guidance that words alone can rarely convey. By recognizing the immense power of silence, we open ourselves to a deeper, richer experience of existence, one that honors reflection, nurtures understanding, and inspires authentic connection. Silence, in its profound capacity, is not the absence of communication, but the fullest expression of truth. It is the space in which life, unmediated and unfiltered, reveals itself in all its depth and complexity. Through silence, we perceive the unseen, understand the unspoken, and connect with the eternal rhythms that shape our lives. To embrace silence is to embrace wisdom, clarity, and the profound beauty of existence itself.